How does a quarterback go from being projected as a first-round draft pick to sitting on the bench behind a mid-tier backup? On a team falling apart week after week? It makes zero sense, unless there's something going on behind the scenes that they don't want us to know. Because this isn't an injury holding him back. This isn't bad practice habits. This isn't normal. This is something else. And once you start connecting the dots, the whole thing starts to look a little dirty. Why is a young QB with NFL-ready talent SHEDEUR Sanders not even getting practice reps while his team racks up losses? Why are certain media figures hinting at something deeper, but refusing to say it out loud? And what does one very unusual agent connection have to do with all of this? We went deep on this one, from speculative inside info to the old-school media bias, and even some tense comments from former NFL pros. Everything in this story points to a far bigger issue than anyone's willing to admit. So is SHEDEUR Sanders being held back? Or is the team hiding something they're too scared to say out loud? This story isn't just about one rookie. It's about power, reputation, and the dangerous game being played behind the scenes in the NFL. Let's break it down. Let's start with what's been confusing everyone. SHEDEUR Sanders was projected to go late in the first round of the NFL draft. Some scouts saw him as a day 2 pick at worst, a polished, confident quarterback who had the athleticism, accuracy, football IQ, and media presence NFL franchises crave, not to mention his experience playing under constant spotlight since he was a teenager. But now, we're staring at week 10 of the season, and he hasn't taken a single snap in a real game. Not even garbage time. Not only that, he's not even listed as the QB2. Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. For a franchise like the Cleveland Browns, a team that's literally struggling to win games, make plays, keep momentum, you'd expect them to throw everything at the wall just to find a spark. And if you've got a potential franchise QB waiting, why wouldn't you at least see what he can do? But it's worse than that. SHEDEUR isn't just watching from the sideline. According to multiple beat reporters, he's not even consistently getting first-team practice reps. In some weeks, he's sat out altogether while guys with less draft hype and lower upside continue to start and stumble through ugly wins and brutal losses. So naturally, fans started asking the question, what's going on here? Is this really about football performance, or is something else keeping him off the field? Now, on paper, the official explanation goes like this. Injuries, back tightness, muscle strain, oblique soreness, pain management. That's what the team has said in press conferences. But here's where it gets weird. Just days after those claims, reporters on site, actual people physically at practice, were posting videos and photos of SHEDEUR moving freely, throwing, running reps like nothing's wrong. No visible signs of injury. No hesitations. Nothing taped up. No brace. Just normal athletic movement. One insider even wrote, "Mobility looked good. Didn't see anything visibly wrong. He wasn't practicing like someone managing an injury." Hold up. So the official line is that he's hurt. But the player looks fine. He's suited up. He's performing. He doesn't seem to be limping, stiff, or even limited. Something's clearly not adding up. And when respected local media starts throwing around terms like suspicious, feels off, doesn't make sense, you start to realize we may not be hearing the full story. This isn't just fans speculating anymore, it's insider voices literally inside the Browns media camp saying, "We don't get it either." And that's where our story really starts. Because once people in the building start avoiding eye contact about a decision this strange, you can bet there's more going on. And it's not great. And what happens next? Well, that's when people started firing off accusations. At first, the story was simple. SHEDEUR Sanders wasn't on the field because of an injury. That's what the Browns said. That's what the press repeated. Back tightness, oblique soreness, muscle strain. A nagging issue keeping the young star out of action. Problem is, the injury explanation doesn't add up. Multiple people, actual reporters on site, say they've watched him at practice. And the reports? Mobility looked good. No visible signs of discomfort. Backing up, moving, throwing, running with energy. Not only was he was practicing effortlessly. No brace, no restriction, no tape, no stiffness. In a situation this tense, where you've got a struggling team, where the offense is barely staying alive, you'd expect any sign of recovery would move him up the pecking order fast. But that hasn't happened. There's been no bump in reps, no public plan to ease him back in, and absolutely zero urgency from the coaching staff. And that's why people are asking, was this ever really about an injury in the first place? Because here's the thing. The Browns didn't need to hide anything like this. They could have just said, "He isn't ready. Learning curve. We'll give him time." That's it. End of story. But instead, they chose a different route, one that starts looking a lot more like damage control than transparency. Add to that, this entire situation reminds people of something we've seen before. The slow, quiet shelving of a player teams don't want to succeed. Maybe due to ego, maybe politics, or maybe something else. Now, this isn't just internet conspiracy stuff either. Plenty of NFL talk show hosts, but especially some of the same Cleveland media insiders, are tapping the brakes. They're saying things like, "I'm hearing a bunch of things I don't want to say out loud. I don't believe it, but something feels off. This doesn't make sense and no one will go on record." That alone should raise alarm bells, because if this was simply a matter of keeping a player healthy, letting him fully recover before pushing him in, there would be nothing to hide. But these reporters sound confused, nervous, like they're intentionally not saying what they're hearing behind closed doors. So now the question has changed. It's no longer, is SHEDEUR injured? It's become, who exactly is controlling this narrative? And what are they protecting? And it only gets creepier from here. Because when your team is desperate for wins, when your starter is struggling, and a healthy, talented QB still can't touch the field, that's when people start thinking, maybe this isn't about football at all. And once those rumors start flying, they get ugly fast. By now, this whole situation is feeling less like football and more like a mystery thriller. Think about this. SHEDEUR Sanders is healthy. He's active. He's practicing. Reporters say there's no apparent issue, and multiple insiders confirm that when asked, coaches say he's doing everything right. So then, why won't they play him? This is where things get strange. Because the people who usually have the answers, beat reporters, analysts, radio hosts, are quiet. Not silent, just awkwardly quiet. Some of them even admit it, straight on the mic. Tony Rizzo, one of Cleveland's top sports voices, literally said, "I've heard a lot of things, but I don't want to believe what I'm hearing." Hold up. You're one of the most connected voices in the region. You've spent years covering this team. And now, you're hearing things you're too uncomfortable to say out loud? That's not just vague. That's intentional. And when radio hosts start sentences with, "I probably shouldn't say this," or "You're gonna think I'm crazy," but it usually means they've already heard something legit. Something they believe, but can't say out loud. Why? It could be PR pressure. It could be protecting sources. Or maybe it's because what they're hearing sounds so shady, it could blow things up. Remember, this is the same media crew who constantly defended Dillon Gabriel, the quarterback SHEDEUR is behind on the depth chart. Some of these same reporters leaked Gabriel's name as the starter before the Browns ever confirmed anything. They were spoon-fed that info. So when those same people start acting confused, starts feeling like a cover-up. Even worse, some insiders are suddenly suggesting SHEDEUR might not even want to play. That maybe he's too comfortable or not mentally in it. Think about how insane that sounds. This is a 2-year-old who every time he's asked, praises the coaching staff, shows up to practice early, stays late, avoids media drama, keeps working. Reporters are literally posting off-camera footage of him working out in full pads, running drills, locked in. He's even doing extra throwing sessions off the field, but the only reason we know about them is because other players post them, not him. So how do you go from that to saying he doesn't want to play? You're either blind, dishonest, or trying to spin the narrative. And suddenly, the question changes. It's no longer, why isn't he playing? It's, why are they so afraid to tell the truth about it? The vague injuries, the conflicting practice reports, the whispers from media personalities who've never been this hesitant to speak. There's a feeling in the air like something's being buried, and the way the media's acting only makes it more obvious. Now let's talk about the layer no one ever wants to address directly, especially not in sports media. BS. Because when a guy like SHEDEUR Sanders, who's done everything right according to team reports, gets called out with zero evidence, while another player, Dylan Gabriel, is praised just for being average? That's not random. That's a pattern. And it's not just fans seeing it, it's former athletes, analysts, and industry insiders who are realizing that SHEDEUR is getting dragged through the mud without a single real incident to point to. Think about it. He shows up to camp ready. He works hard. He doesn't complain. He praises the coaches every time he's interviewed, and every single clip from Brown's practices shows SHEDEUR focused, mobile, and engaged. Yet when he doesn't play, you don't hear, "We chose to go in a different direction." You hear, "Maybe he doesn't want it. He's too comfortable. He needs to grow up." Those are loaded statements, especially when they're coming from the same media members that hyped up Dylan Gabriel, a quarterback who shares the same agent as Kevin Stefanski, Gus Malzahn, Dan Lanning, and Brent Venables. Yeah, that wasn't speculation, that's a confirmed connection. And connections like that, they matter. Because if Stefanski is protecting Dylan Gabriel based on a shared agent circle, while letting SHEDEUR sit, despite being more talented and more exciting for the fan base, then that's not just bias. That's favoritism. That's nepotism. That's protecting the system you're a part of. And when media figures help push that favoritism by creating doubt around the player who's being silenced, that's when you've got a problem. Because now, it's bigger than football. We heard former NFL players like TJ Houshmandzadeh and Emmanuel Acho debate whether SHEDEUR can succeed without his dad, Deion Sanders. What kind of question is that? You don't ask Justin Herbert if he can succeed without his dad. You don't ask Trevor Lawrence. But the moment a high-profile black quarterback comes from a legendary family, it's framed like he's entitled. Why? Because certain media outlets can't stomach the hype unless they create a fall narrative to go with it. And it's happening here. Right now, one Browns insider even said it straight. If SHEDEUR had been white, this story's coverage would look very, very different. That's not a tweet. That's reality. So, is the media merely confused by Stefanski's decisions? Or is there something deeper, something more uncomfortable guiding who gets trust in the NFL and who gets painted as a problem the second they sit the bench? The way SHEDEUR is being handled by this team, and the way the media enables that silence, it's getting harder to ignore. At this point, people aren't just asking questions, they're starting to connect dots. Too many things happening off camera. Too many people dodging the truth. Too many whispers, and not enough answers. And now, even former players are speaking out. On podcasts, in interviews, on NFL shows, the conversation is shifting from speculation to suspicion. There's some shit going on. That's the exact quote from former NFL star Aqib Talib. And he's not alone. Former players like TJ Houshmandzadeh and analysts like Emmanuel Acho are debating whether SHEDEUR even can succeed without his father in the building, as if Deion Sanders is some kind of emotional crutch keeping his son afloat. But here's what they're missing. SHEDEUR isn't leaning on anybody. He's already proven he can lead on his own. He took Colorado from a punching bag to a national headline every Saturday. He's running practice, encouraging teammates, and still, despite all the noise, staying out of the mess. But none of that seems to matter. Because the narrative is the weapon. And the more you look at this situation, the more it starts to feel like SHEDEUR is being boxed out not based on talent, but because he's not part of the system they've built. A system protected by connections, by agents, by off-field deals that dictate who plays and who doesn't. And here's the most explosive part. What if the Browns never wanted SHEDEUR to succeed here? What if he was drafted as a leverage piece, a locker room insurance policy, a future trade asset, a just-in-case rookie they could stash, spin stories about, and then move when the timing was right? Because if that's the case, keeping him on the bench protects that value. Playing him, letting him rise, might damage the very relationships they're trying to protect in the coaching office. Would it be the first time a franchise put front office politics above wins? Absolutely not. And if you listen to insiders like Tony Rizzo, they're practically screaming between the lines, "I don't know what's going on, but something's off. I'm hearing things I don't even want to believe." That's not rumor. That's cover your career realness. So what some call conspiracy, others are starting to call strategy. Ugly, ruthless, and maybe deliberate. And if that's true, this isn't just about SHEDEUR anymore. It's about how NFL franchises protect insiders and punish outsiders. Now here's where things jump from weird to flat-out reckless. Because if SHEDEUR Sanders really is healthy, prepared, and showing NFL-level promise behind the scenes and he's still not on the field, then someone higher up is willing to make an insane gamble, sacrificing wins to protect something off the field. And that pressure? It's landing directly at the feet of head coach Kevin Stefanski. Let's set the stage. The Browns are struggling, offensively inconsistent. Fans are fed up, media is circling. And through all that pressure, Stefanski still refuses to play the one guy who might ignite the offense, or at least shake things up. But ask yourself this. If your job was on the line, and you had a QB with talent and hype waiting on the depth chart, wouldn't you at least try him out? Something doesn't add up. Some insiders believe that Stefanski is afraid to start SHEDEUR, not because he's unprepared, but because if SHEDEUR shows out, it makes the front office look bad. It makes the politics obvious. It exposes decisions they've been defending all season. Even former players are calling it out. Aqib Talib straight up said, if he plays those last 5 games and wins out, Stefanski's job is saved. But here's the twist. What if Stefanski doesn't want it saved? What if the damage is already done behind the scenes? If there really are insider pressures, connections to agents, deals, or promises made behind closed doors starting, SHEDEUR might upset the entire structure, especially if it proves that Dillon Gabriel's spot was unearned from the start. And maybe Stefanski is thinking long-term, protecting relationships with agents who place coaches, or helping out a guy like Gabriel who shares representation with powerful college and NFL figures. That's not just sketchy. That's career suicide if it gets exposed. And now the media's starting to wake up. Fans are asking, is he tanking? Is he done following the football logic and now just riding it out? Because there's no justifiable on-field reason not to try a talented rookie QB when your season is slipping away. Even worse, every week that passes confirms this isn't about player readiness, this is about image management. The team is losing, the fan base is furious. And the one move that could change the season just testing your young quarterback is being avoided at all costs. So either Kevin Stefanski seriously believes playing SHEDEUR would hurt this team, or he's been instructed not to play him, no matter what happens. And if that's true, then we're watching one man probably on his way out dig in, double down, and fall on the sword just to keep someone else's decision from being exposed. Let's be honest, this whole situation isn't just suspicious anymore. It's messy. It's layered. And too many people are avoiding something they clearly know. From team insiders, to local beat reporters, to national analysts, everyone's dancing around the truth. But no one's saying it. Look back at comments from Tony Grossi, one of the most seasoned NFL voices in Cleveland. The same guy who's never been afraid to criticize a player, flame a coach, or stir up controversy. But when he was asked about SHEDEUR Sanders, he hesitated. He didn't go full steam like usual. No hot take, no breakdown. Instead, all we got was, I don't want to say it out loud because people will jump on me. Wait, since when is Tony Grossi scared to be jumped on? Same thing with Tony Rizzo. He danced around the subject, admitting that he's hearing things but won't share the details. Said he doesn't know what's true, but that if it is, he doesn't want to believe it. That's not random. That's media damage control. Because if this really came down to training performance, bad film, or attitude, we'd already know. They'd be shouting it from the studio. Articles would have dropped instantly. SHEDEUR struggles in meetings. SHEDEUR not picking up the playbook. Lazy in practice. Selfish in the locker room. But that narrative never came. Not once. Instead, the people who usually feed off controversy? Dead quiet. Or worse, deflecting. Pushing out weak excuses about injuries that disappear the moment practice footage drops showing SHEDEUR moving, throwing, scrambling, looking totally fine. And when insiders with solid reputations admit they've heard wild things but won't repeat them, that's not protection, that's containment. What are they hiding? Or better yet, who are they protecting? Because if this all goes public, if the real story leaks, a lot of professional reputations are at risk. Coaches, players, media vetting credibility, maybe even front office decision makers. After all, this isn't just some random QB controversy. This is a politically charged power play involving shared agents, backdoor promises, and potentially a manipulated media narrative that's been built carefully since camp. These guys know the line. Say too much, they lose access. Push too hard, they get iced out. So they do what media gatekeepers have always done when they're scared. They say everything, without saying anything. Meanwhile, the fans watch, ask questions, connect dots, and get gaslit. Because if you criticize the silence too loudly, you're labeled a conspiracy theorist. But if everyone from reporters to athletes are saying, "I'm hearing things I can't repeat," then maybe it's not a theory anymore. Maybe it's truth, wrapped in media spin, and they're hoping you don't notice. By now, you've probably noticed something strange. Not just with the team. Not just with the decisions. But with the way everyone around this story is tiptoeing like they're walking on glass. The people who usually speak with confidence, who live for hot takes, who never hesitate to call out a player or coach. They're nervous. And it's not because they don't have information, it's because they have too much and they can't afford to be the one who says it first. Let's start at the top. Multiple reporters in the Cleveland sports media have said on air or behind paywalls, "There's more to this than people know. I've heard things, but I'd lose access if I told you. I don't want to believe what I'm hearing." What kind of drama gets that reaction? It's not about bad practice habits. It's not about scheme fit. It's not even about not being ready. It's about control. Control over the narrative. Control over contracts. Control over careers. Because if the real story around SHEDEUR Sanders comes out, if we find out he's been buried on the depth chart for reasons outside of the football field, top-level people lose credibility. The coaching staff, the agents, the front office, all of them. And the media? They're tied to those same people. Say too much, and you lose sources, lose interviews, get disinvited from closed-door sessions and blacklisted from the beat. So instead, they float empty injury claims. They speculate about his mindset. They pretend the elephant in the room doesn't exist, all while fans are putting the puzzle together in real time. They want you to believe SHEDEUR isn't ready. They want you to think the hype was just social media noise. They want you to forget he was projected as a first-round QB just a season ago. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You already know. You've seen the workouts. You've heard the way he talks in interviews, composed, respectful, team first. You've seen players around the league support him. What you haven't seen? Any real evidence suggesting he's not ready. No leaked film. No, he's late to meetings. Not a single on-record criticism from inside the building. So what are they hiding? Is it the politics of shared agents? Is it quiet racism disguised as professionalism? Is it a coach protecting a bad decision? Or maybe it's all of those at once. We may never hear the full story in an official report, but the pieces are already there. And when fans figure out the truth faster than the media is willing to admit it, that's not a fan base being irrational. That's a fan base paying attention. What do you think is really going on with SHEDEUR Sanders? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is bigger than football, and your voice matters here. Like the video if it opened your eyes. Dislike it if you think we're reaching. Don't forget to subscribe for more breakdowns like this because we say the quiet part out loud. SHEDEUR's story isn't over, but someone's definitely trying to end it early, and we're not letting that happen quietly.